lead in first to Jeff. Just as a community, as a nation, as you can see by Jeff's background, he is a big Sparty guy. So our thoughts and our prayers are with Michigan State. Jeff, you can just talk about, what the last 16 hours have been for you and or 24 hours almost have been for you. And, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to make it too much about that, but I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, being an alumni and having two kids that one of them just graduated, and I have a son there right now. Luckily, he wasn't on campus. He's actually at the House of Mouse right now doing an internship, which I'll talk about here in a quick second. It hit home pretty hard for me last night. I couldn't peel myself away from the TV. I felt this incredible amount of relief because my son wasn't there, but I felt guilty for having that relief because, we were on the phone all night with 9 or 10 of our Spartan families and checking in until we heard from our kids, until we heard their voices. And every time we heard a voice, it was like, we ended up being fine, but I can't imagine what those 8 families are feeling that were affected. 5 of them are still in critical condition and 3 of them lost their lives. So it's horrific what this nation keeps wanting to do over and over again. It seems like once a month we hear about this. This is twice for Michigan in the last 15 months with the Oxfords, situation. So I appreciate that, John. My son actually got a call this morning from the Mouse, from the Disney College program, who was checking in on him because, being a Michigan State University college program participant, they wanted to check on him, basically telling him that he has the day off, and just giving a lot of love toward him. So I really appreciate that, the Walt Disney Company. I appreciate that, the Disney College program, checking into my son like that. That meant a lot to me. God bless, and our thoughts are with everybody at Michigan State University.
Absolutely. In fact, I texted you because I'm actually in Disney World right now proper. And I texted you because I went to Animal Kingdom and I was looking for him because I wanted a picture taken with him and he wasn't there. And I was just checking with you and seeing if you were okay. And, props to Disney. Disney takes so much flack sometimes.
They do.
Just for some of the things. But man, I just, the cast members are what make the magic. And we're going to talk a lot about that tonight because, honestly, from not even just a travel agent perspective, but from a customer service perspective, this trip's been on point, and honestly, it's kind of what I've always wanted a vacation to be. But anyway, before we get into that, we do have some news to touch on. Of course, we didn't even check and see how Alyssa's doing this week.
I'm peachy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have. I've had 3 days to train for Wine and Dine pending the registration because, as we just discussed before we started recording, the registration for the.
How'd that registration go today?
I didn't sign up for Disneyland and I'm glad because that sounded like it was a hot mess.
Yeah.
So, granted, I mean, it's the first Disneyland race in a lot of years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So we knew it was going to be crazy, but I don't think it was the registration part itself that was crazy. It was that it was delayed 15 minutes. It didn't open when it was supposed to. And then it was the queue was just a nightmare. People would say, oh, it's 20 minutes till I get in. Great. But then it would jump up to an hour. So that I've just heard some.
They're taking their cues from Ticketmaster. Stop it. Don't do that.
Right.
Shame.
So I'm a little nervous. March 21st is when Wine and Dine registration opens up. So I'm a little nervous.
I saw so many people on social media marking themselves safe from registration today. So it must have been a chaotic mess. I'm a little worried because I have Tron registration here for DVC and AP, and I'm hoping that's not going to be a hot mess. And I know, John, you...
That's what, in 2 days?
Yeah.
2 days you got?
Yeah.
2 days,
yep. 2 days. So we're going to... I got to do it twice for AP and for DVC, so we'll see if... we'll see how
double
much
dipping, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, have 5 browsers open up.
Speaking of which, we never hit this opening. We are brought to you by Moments of Magic Travel, momentsofmagictravel.com. for all things Disney, Universal, Disney Cruise Line, you name it, we book it. Shout us out. Again, mention you heard it on the podcast. We'd love to help you. I mean, we are 3 agents that work for Moments of Magic Travel. So anyway, happy Valentine's Day, guys.
Happy Valentine's Day.
I am flying solo. So this was I've taken some hits, thus far, but I think we're okay. So
but I think you know what though, John, you can roll with the punches being by yourself. Like
yes.
you're not worried about anyone else. Like you do you.
There's
I got right off the bus.
There's nobody telling you what to do.
Yeah. I got right off the bus, immediately made a beeline to the Kona Cafe stand up on the second floor of the Polynesian by the monorail deck, and immediately went for my bacon, sat on the beach. It was cold, but it was delicious. Like, it was the best thing ever. I mean, all the things that you saw in that opener were just things that I wanted to do. In fact, I just got done eating at the Yachtsman tonight on Valentine's Day. So
let me guess, a steak?
Not? Oh. With blue cheese dressing, it was to die for. With some pours of bourbon, I'm a happy camper.
That's awesome.
So it kind of like goes into our topic tonight. We're going to talk about flying solo at Disney World specifically, because like there's a lot of things that can happen. There's a lot of things that like from my perspective, this trip, I wanted to see, because I've had some physical issues going on, I wanted to see where I was at physically and mentally. So this has been a good barometer. I've had a good mix. In fact, our first tip is kind of like having a good mix of going with the flow and just having at it. So it's kind of like I kind of had a set plan in place on Monday. Yesterday, I was actually in the parks from 7:30 until like 9 o'clock at night. And I was going to go over to Extra Magic Hours at Epcot to ride Guardians. And the 6 o'clock queue was not working because you can do it anywhere on property. And it wasn't working. So I'm like, do I really want to go all the way over from Hollywood Studios? Because I was at Fantasmic, which is fantastic. The new like stuff they added for Fantasmic was great. But then I'm like, do I really want to truck all the way over there and basically be at the mercy of a cast member to be like, oh yeah, we're sorry, Mr. Oaks, you could ride, or go back to my hotel room dejected? So I opted for sleep. I really had no quarrels about it. I was like, if I was with my family, they would want to like totally go for it, and got to the point where I was just tired. And I'm like, yeah.
But again, I think that's such a cool thing that like you could decide that. Like when we were down there at the conference, I went to the Extra Magic Hours with a bunch of other agents, and they kept pushing me to keep going, which I don't regret one bit. But I like also needed to go to sleep. Like so, it like had it been just me, I probably would have been like, all right, let me go take care of myself. Let me just go to bed. And again, no regrets. I had an amazing time with them going up until whatever, 11 p.m., midnight, whatever it was. But I think it's, then again, like you said, like you could decide that for yourself and you didn't have to worry about anybody else, which is really cool.
And I'll be honest with you, like Sunday was the Super Bowl, and like I had plans to go to Disney Springs and go to Splitsville and watch the game. And honestly, I was decided to go to Disney Springs really early, and I like petered out after 2.5 hours because it was crowded, especially that end where Cirque du Soleil is. It was a bottleneck because they have so much construction there, and I'm like, I don't really want to deal with this. And like, I just went back to the room, around halftime or right before the halftime show. I went to the hot tub, had my nice little tablet there, watching the game, and then halftime I ordered nachos and I called it good. And I was happy.
Sounds lovely.
It doesn't
literally
it freaking sounds amazing.
It was literally the greatest because it was just like, I don't want to do that. See, I'm a planner by nature, and you get me in a place like this, and I'm like to the minute. But the last couple of trips with other people have taught me that it's okay to just do like go with the flow. That you don't need. I guess you don't really need other people to like tell you what brings you joy. And like that's been honestly one of the best things about this trip is because like I paid my park tickets. I've gotten the most of it. I rode so many rides yesterday; it was ridiculous.
You don't
Like
need
I totally.
say you don't need park, or you don't need other people, and you don't need other tools. And what I mean by that is, I think we've lost a little bit of our spontaneity the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even more. Maybe even we lost a little bit of it with Fast Pass Plus, but definitely
Yes.
with some of the tools that we have now, we lose the spontaneity of just living in the moment. And while I'm not advocating at all not to use these wonderful Disney tools, from Genie Plus to Lightning Lane to the virtual queue and Fast Pass in the past, I tell all my families there's sometimes a time in your vacation, whether that's in the evening or in the afternoon, or maybe you don't purchase Genie Plus, where it's nice just to let your kids lead you around and live in the moment. It's very similar to your solo trip, John, where sometimes it's just nice to come out of attraction and say, where do I want to go next? I want to go all the way across the park. I'm going to go do that. You guys remember when we were kids and we used to visit either Disney or maybe your local amusement park? There wasn't all these tools. What did you do? You just done what you wanted to do. And, we've lost that as I think as a society. How many times have you guys walked through the parks and all you see is people's faces buried in their phones while they're walking? Or bumped into somebody because they weren't looking up. We've lost that.
That's and honestly, that's part of the reason why, like, for me, a lot of the times, like, I'll opt for a scooter because, like, people walking and stopping in front of me, just like I just can't. It's just so much easier because I'm not able to control things. I also wrecked my knee about a month and a half ago, so it's like, I'm all about self-preservation when you're down here, and that's another thing too. We talked about having a good mix, but it's also a good thing to kind of like preserve. Like when my wife and I first started coming to Disney, it was all about we got to see this, we got to see this, we got to do this, we got to do this. It was just nonstop, and now it's kind of like as soon as we're done here, I'm heading right over to the pool at the beach club because it's got my wristband and I'm ready to go. Like as soon as I walked out of the restaurant, I'm like, oh, I gotta get my wristband. As soon as I'm done here, boom, going to hit the pool and ride the lazy river for a couple hours. So it's been great, and it's kind of like one of those things where it's like important to just enjoy yourself and like not have the pressures of other people. Like Thursday night, the one thing I'm looking forward to is sitting in the hub and watching the fireworks. Yeah. And I've talked about it before. That's like the one box that I didn't get to check last trip when I brought my niece and nephew. I'm going to do that then. That's going to be great, and it'll be awesome. Alyssa, what do you got as far
Alyssa, have you taken a solo trip before, Alyssa?
I have not done like a full trip. However, when I was a cast member back in the day, I would spend entire days in the parks by myself.
Yeah, that counts.
So
that counts.
Hop in the beach club pool.
Yes, back then in that day, yes, I did.
Here's the reason why there's a rule. No, I'm kidding. The Alyssa rule.
But yeah, no. So, and my favorite thing always to do, I would always go to Hollywood Studios, and back then, now it's where, I don't even know what they call it. It's where like you can meet the Star Wars characters, but that's where they used to have the Animation Academy. So I would go there for a few hours and I would do a class, learn how to draw a character, then go back through the queue again to get in the next class for the next character.
Animation Courtyard.
Thank you. Yep. Okay, yes. So, but that's something I would never do with my family, do that over and over however many times I wanted. So that was something that was really, really fun. Or there'd be some days they had too many cast members working that day, and so they needed some of us to take off, and I was like, you know what, I wouldn't mind going to the parks right now. So then I would go I would do that, so which is really cool. So I haven't done that since then. I was a cast member back in 2009 2010, so it's been a hot minute, but I would do it again.
Say for me, I'm an Epcot person. Absolutely love that place. It's like my heart. It's just the speed that I love. And when I, take my solo trips every so often, you never necessarily want to, go to a restaurant and maybe sit by yourself all the time. I'm not saying that's still not fun to do, but I love to go to Epcot and, during a festival, during the Food and Wine or to the Flower and Garden, and just as a solo graze and go through all those food booths, try different things I've never tried before. It's obviously an inexpensive way to enjoy a lot of different foods from all around the world and not have to share them with anybody. You get to just
Hmm.
enjoy that, whether it's the food or maybe an adult beverage or two. So that's one of my favorite
Hmm.
things to do, is over at Epcot and just country hop. Sit down and maybe if you feel like it, see one of the shows at the America's Gardens theaters all three times.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so that
That
it's a blast. I love
that's
solo trips.
that's a squad goal right there. Like depending on the act, I'd be all about that. But
Yeah.
one thing I love about this trip is just talking with the cast members. Like I've had like really fun conversations, and I'll see if I can link the video in here. But like last night at Fantasmic, we had a fantastic merchandise cast member. I had front row for Fantasmic, and it was great. And just talking, Tessa was her name. She was great. She actually did this thing where she like did the wave in splits, and so it
Fun.
was so fun. It was like fun watching her because like she was going to get razzed if it didn't work. Like that was the best part about it. She's like, I'm going to take a lot of mocking in the break room if this doesn't work. So do the wave this way, and the crowd ate it up. Like talking, I had an issue today at Epcot talking with one of the cast members at guest relations. His name was John. He was spectacular. Like he worked through my problem, got everything situated. It was honestly great because like you get to talk to him. He was from Pittsburgh, so like immediately like we were talking like Steeler football and just like Pittsburgh, and it was great. You make connections anywhere you go here, and if you're a conversational person like me, it's like it kind of brings me back to just being what makes me me, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like what's been the point, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking through you right now, by the way, because
yeah.
I feel like I just need I need like a mental health day. Like I
Hmm.
just need to like not do anything for a day. And
Hmm.
I would literally love to just do nothing at the Disney parks right now. Like it sounds
I
so just
tried,
rejuvenating.
and that's the thing. Like I tried really hard to just be like, you know what, take today off. It's Valentine's Day. Go get my wife something nice from Gideon's, and I'm like, and it wasn't like, yeah, never mind that, but like I'm just gonna be sitting here when I could like do things at my pace, and like it worked out great, and I mean, I was telling you guys pre-show, like I rode Everest 3 times in a row. Like it was the best, and like I actually got some really good footage for the intro. It was really fun, and that's kind of just becoming. I don't want to say becoming John again because that's lame and cliched and blah blah blah. But it's kind of like it's one of those things where like you don't have to impress anybody. And like I always feel like, and I don't know if anybody in the audience relates to this, but when you're at Disney World, you'd be like, you gotta see this, you gotta see that, you gotta see this. Because the last 2 trips I've taken with family have just been like they don't have the same enthusiasm. So it's kind of fun to just reconnect with that enthusiasm that you have. Because I
it's
brought
me
my
time. It's me time,
yeah,
John. You get me
yeah, it's
time.
totally. Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with all of us having a little bit of that in our daily lives, whether you're at Disney or not. But when you're at Disney, me time
Hmm.
is a heck of a lot more fun. You get
Yes.
to do the things, you get to be a kid again, you get to be totally immersed in the magic, and
Hmm.
you touched on something which was one of my pro tips for the viewers and listeners to doing Disney solo was. You said you got to ride Expedition Everest a few times in a row. That's one of the great things about being solo is they have all these solo ride lines that Disney does.
Hmm.
Whether it's Expedition Everest, whether it's Test Track, whether it's Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster. There are so many rides at Disney World that cater to the solo, traveler, the solo park goer, or maybe the person that is with their family and wants to just ride something one more time and their family went back to the room. They have the ability to
Hmm.
do that. So
Hmm.
it's awesome that you get to enjoy those solo lines, and I've done them too. It's a pro tip that I think will help you really enjoy the trips when you're there solo.
Yeah. And
Mm.
I think going back to the cast members, like last night, like the cast member who played Mickey, I was at Hollywood and Vine, and he just sat down at the table and went like this, and it was so good. It was so great. I threw it up on our Instagram story. It was one of the funniest interactions I've had, and like we were just sitting there talking. I was talking to the couple next to me, because prior to that, they had literally the shortest Mickey Mouse I've ever seen. And it was hysterical because it's just like, oh my God. Like, I didn't even want to get my picture taken next to whoever played it because I was just like, oh, it's too.
Oh, I kind of wish you did.
it, it had to have been like a 5 foot Mickey Mouse. I've never seen a Mickey that short. Like, they've always been middle of the road, and
Oh man.
it's
Well, as
great.
someone who is 5'2.5", because that
Yeah.
half is very important, I feel like one day you and I, John, are gonna get a side by side, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna be a runt next to you, next to how tall you are. Oh,
Yeah. So that's been
how
great.
fun.
Yeah, and like, honestly, like, again, going back to the go with the flow attitude, like, I've always talked about how Topolino Terrace was like one of the best reservations you can get on property. And then I discovered that, oh, they're no longer all you care to enjoy. And I know, like, the average person is just going to be like, oh, just give me my Mickey waffle and show me characters and move on. But that was kind of like one of the biggest things that disappointed me about this trip, was that I wasn't going to be able to get my all you can eat steak for $40. It was just like the best deal ever on property. And I'm like, oh, all right, I could be really sour about that, or I can just move on. And I ended up at Hollywood and Vine again, and it was great. Like, that was one of the best meals I've had, for
Mm.
a sit down service at Hollywood Studios specifically. Um, just the food was really good, and it was really enjoyable. Just, talking with the cast members, we've had some really good cast member interactions. The one thing I will say, and I'm going to try to be more intentional about this maybe on Thursday or Friday, is trying to do some of the off resort stuff. I was going to do, a trip to Fort Wilderness to see the horses and stuff like that, because I love that. I might even do that tomorrow. So.
I think that's what I like the last time, not the last time, 2 times ago when I came down. I came down a day early, and it
Mm,
was nice to go do some of that stuff too, because again, you didn't feel like you had to spend the whole day in the park, but then I was able to go try some restaurants that,
hmm.
like, my husband, who is more of a meat and potatoes guy, wouldn't like,
Yeah.
and so I got to go do some of those things. Can you guys think, what's the one thing that, like, you'd never get, like, your spouse or your family to go do? Like, is there one thing you would never get them to do that you really want to or you love doing?
Oh, for me, it'd probably be
Uh,
power riding, my favorite ride. Most of my family doesn't necessarily handle roller coasters. In how do I want to say it? Over. Like in some of these special events when they
hmm.
don't have lines. That would be something I would enjoy solo at an after hours event, is being able to power ride something, because I can totally handle that.
Hmm.
So for me, it'd be power riding.
Like, when you do the after hours at Magic Kingdom, I've never been able to get Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger spin, really get a good score at it. I've gotten once. So
Mm.
they let you go over and over again because no one's there, and it was just like, you know,
Why not?
I'm actually considering doing that on Thursday, because, like, there's the Hollywood Studios tomorrow night, which I'm looking forward to because I'll probably ride Tower of Terror and Midway Mania over and over again, with some other stuff sprinkled in. But then, just like being able to go to Magic Kingdom after dark, you can do so many things at Magic Kingdom. It's like literally the easiest park. I know, like, the one thing that my wife always tries to get me to do, and I refuse to, is go to Tom Sawyer Island. It's just, I really have no interest. It's just like one of those things, and, like, probably for her, probably riding, going on Carousel Progress. That
Oh,
was
I
the
love that.
first thing I dragged her to when we went 5 years ago.
I
Actually,
feel
6 years
that.
ago. Yeah, like that and the People Mover, because it's like no wait. You can just see everything,
Well, we all
and
have
it was.
rides that we love that
Mm,
that nobody else does in our family. For me at
hmm.
Epcot, having done so many Adventures by Disney trips, for me, I love to go to the Impressions de France show and,
Hmm.
revisit in my head some of those places that we visited, or the China pavilion has a movie there inside of there. Those
Hmm.
are the things that my family doesn't necessarily always want to, I don't want to say waste time, but use time to do. And I absolutely
Hmm.
adore those movies. So as on a solo trip, and I'm that single person, don't be surprised if you don't see me in Impressions de France maybe 3 times in a row, back to back to back.
Hmm.
those are the kinds of cool things that you can do solo too. Is you can do some of those attractions that you don't think about as a family, doing very often, whether it's the movies or the rides you mentioned. I love, Magic Kingdom and love doing the Carousel of Progress. I mean, that's a shout out and nostalgic look at to the World's Fair,
Hmm.
when Walt brought that back. That's such a great ride.
Hmm.
Yeah, awesome point.
Not only that, but like for me, like I love Figment. Like I made a point of going to Epcot today for the sole purpose of getting my wife a Figment popcorn bucket, which props to Disney for actually like doing it, where you have to order on the app instead of waiting in these long lines where it's just like you have like news footage over it, like, and it was great. Like,
I have two things that I used to love doing. Again, back in the days I was a cast member that they no longer have. One of them was back when they had the Kim Possible. I don't know what you called it. I think it's like
mm,
Phineas and Ferb, or no, it just
yeah.
changed again to something else. But it like you go to all the countries in Epcot and you have these little missions to complete. And back
Mm,
then, when it was Kim Possible, you got a little tiny like phone and you had to like dial in things the right way, and
yeah.
then like things would happen, and that was so much fun. Like I
Mm.
literally would just go to Epcot to try and finish as many missions as I could. And then they used to have I'm blanking on the name. I have all of my cards. Actually, hold on a second. Um,
Did you hear that?
Wow.
that was awesome. Do you guys remember these cards?
Oh yeah.
Do you guys?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, look at how many I had from all those years playing this dang games. And then they got rid of it. So what was this thing called? Um,
That's the Kingdom something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Maps,
sorcerers of the
sorcerers,
magic.
maps
Yep,
of the Magic Kingdom. Yeah,
yep.
this was so fun playing this game
I
and collecting the cards. And so, like, I was so sad when they got rid of this because I had yet to get all of them still.
Hmm.
But that
And
was like, and it was a free thing to do too.
mhm.
These cards were free. So anyway, I still keep these even though I can't use them anymore.
I will say again, props to Disney. Like I totally forgot my Magic Band, and I have like previous trips I've done that, and I've totally like bought a new Magic Band. And I'm like, you know what? Nah, I'm just gonna use Magic Mobile. Getting in the room can be cumbersome, but like the rest of it, it's been fine. But again, going back to our point previously, you're kind of relying on your phone a little bit too much, and I
yeah.
kind of just want to like just lean back and kind of enjoy it. But yeah, it's been great. Like, and honestly, I think like I talked about it on the previous episode. I'm going to Topolino's tomorrow night before Hollywood Studios After Hours. Getting more and more steak at a beautiful resort. If you have not checked out Coronado Springs, just stay there. It's like one of the best moderates on
Wait, not
property.
Topolino's. You're going to
Toledo.
the
Toledo. Did I
Toledo.
say? They
Yeah,
say. Oh, all
yeah.
right. Well,
Yep.
okay.
It's all good.
Sorry.
I was confused for a second. I was
Yeah,
like,
Toledo is seriously one of the best. Again, I've had maybe one bad steak in my six years of coming here. Um, and to be honest with you, like it's one of the most Coronado is one of the by far one of the best moderates on property. I mean, the tower is just spectacular. Um, it's gonna be a great night, and I'm looking forward to it. And then I'm just gonna sneak over to Hollywood Studios. So I got Magic Kingdom tomorrow. Gonna ride the People Mover a bunch, get pictures of Tron. I'm actually gonna ride the railroad like 3 times around and just get like different perspectives.
Are you
Because
are you,
like
are you going to treat yourself to any experiences or maybe build a lightsaber while you're here? Because that's one of the things that comes to mind for me when you're solo, right? When you're with the family,
yeah,
you got a budget, blah, blah, blah. But when you're alone, that money's all on you, baby. Whether you want to build a lightsaber, or maybe you want to treat yourself to a massage at Senses Spa. That's one of the things I think is a pro tip is to treat yourself when you're solo.
yes. Actually, if I do anything, it'll probably just go to the Magic Kingdom After Hours because I already planned on um, going to Hollywood Studios. But I mean, that way I can kind of flex, take a midday break, float in the hot tub a little bit, or float down to the lazy river at Beach Club and just have a little fun. That's a good point. It's one of those things where just taking time for yourself. Like I remember the trip in May when I rode Guardians, as far as the annual pass holder preview. Like I got to go to Space 220, the one bad steak. So, um, honestly, like that was one of the things where it's like, okay, I can justify that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and kind of get away with that. When like again, like the trip I took in July with my niece and nephew, like we were going hard for those kids. Like they wanted something, we gave it to them. They wanted a snack, we bought them a $7 bag of candy. Have at it, kids. And just yeah.
Yeah,
So
that makes me think there's a few things that I've wanted to do, but like you said, Jeff, budget wise, doesn't make sense to pay for everybody to do it. Like I really want to do
Right.
Keys to the Kingdom or
Yep.
Behind the Seats. And those are like over
totally.
$100 a person.
Yep.
So, but for one person, wouldn't be as bad compared to 2, 3, 4
Yep.
people.
And that's why that's such a, in my opinion, such a great tip for traveling solo. You can do those little experiences and not break the bank because, it becomes a quarter of the cost if you got a family of 4 to do something like that and you're there solo. Why not do a Keys of the Kingdom tour?
They actually have groups on Facebook where you can do like the VIP share, which
Yeah.
I'd caution against that because like it's kind of like we joked with Leslie when she came on, the owner of Moments of Magic Travel, where it's kind of like you're kind of hedging your bets on who you get as far as with on your Adventures by Disney trip. But like it's one of those things where it's like you're hedging your bets on a lot of things,
You are.
like and that's part of we lose Alyssa.
Yeah, she'll be back.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, yeah, so that's been kind of how things are going here.
I know another thing that I think I think of when I think of doing Disney World solo. You tend to see it a lot. I'm not sure that it's necessarily always something that I'm interested in, but you see a lot of people dress up. They do cosplay when they're solo.
Yes.
You probably have noticed that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's just something I wish I could aspire to do more. But solo really lends you to be somebody that you're not when you're at Disney. Did you see anybody around there that's doing the same thing?
I've seen a couple, and actually,
Star Wars Land probably a lot.
Yes, yes, and I haven't even been back to Galaxy's Edge yet. That's like the craziest thing about it is like I think I've hit Toy Story Land, and then I just headed back back to the resort for a little bit yesterday. But like I haven't even been back to Galaxy's Edge. Like getting some shots at night tomorrow. That's another thing. I'm gonna be at Hollywood Studios after dark. Hardly any crowds there. You're telling me I'm not going to be able to get some great pictures? Like, I mean, I'd really be tempted to buy a lightsaber, but I think I
do the
would
cosplay. Go pick up a Jedi robe and get your lightsaber.
I think I'd cease to exist in the Oaks household if I did that.
That's a perfect opportunity when you're solo, man. Dress up, go have fun, be somebody you're not.
Yep.
So I can't necessarily say that I've done it too often, but it's something I aspire to do on a solo
Well,
trip.
I think at conference in September, if we do end up going, we should do something hack and goofy like that. Yeah, like I did the shots of Beverly. Like y'all gotta like you gotta pay it forward a little bit. I took like 10 shots of Beverly, and yeah, I
I'll
don't
do
ever want
something
to relive.
ridiculous. I won't do Beverly, but I'll do something else. Give it name it, and I'll yeah.
All right, we'll think of something. If you have ideas, leave them in the comments. But yeah, it's been an adventure to say the least. But yeah, like I mean, if you guys have like just in general, like if you have like tips for going solo, be sure to leave them in the comments. If you have a show idea, Universe of Magic Podcast at gmail.com. I don't want to say we're wrapping up, but like kind of winding down here a little bit. I think that like we talked about going with the flow, kind of like, being prepared for changes. Like I had some stuff going on today at Epcot that kind of threw me for a loop, and the cast member again made it great. Anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, I got a couple more things, but Alyssa, I'll let you go
There
first.
you go.
I have just one thought. Do you think flying solo, would it be better to do a deluxe resort to be able to enjoy the amenities solo more, or go value to then go do those extra, like the tours and stuff that you would spend the extra money on, and make that more your focus. What do you think would be better for someone flying solo?
C, go moderate and enjoy a little bit of best of both worlds.
Yes, yes.
That's more my speed, anyways. I'm more of a Port Orleans, Coronado type of guy, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a great thing about the moderate resorts. They're only 10 to 15% more per night than the values, and you get so much more resort, and you still have a ton of money to enjoy those Keys to the Kingdom tours, Alyssa, or maybe some of the other things that we talked about on this call when you're flying solo.
Yeah.
So
So
that's my answer to that question.
no, and I think that it's a good compromise, because I think like it just probably depends. Like we're like, even when we're hoping to go in November, right now I'm leaning towards something like an All Stars to be able to go do
Yeah.
some extra things, extra park days. But the alternative would be to do Coronado and get to enjoy all the amenities there, but with less park days.
And I don't want to come off
Mm-hmm.
as the values are like, dives or anything, because we all
No.
know that Disney's value resorts are incredible. Before we got DVC, my family used to go to Pop Century all the time, and the colorfulness, the in your face Disney, the kids absolutely love that resort. The value resorts
Mm-hmm.
at Disney are on another level. They're
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And to some degree, they might even have some areas that are better, some of the moderates and deluxes when you're looking at certain things. It's a blast. It definitely
Mm-hmm.
all star sports, music, or movies. You can't go wrong if you decide to do one of those, Alyssa.
Yeah, and I think that's it. No matter what you decide, you can't go wrong. It's just figuring out your priorities, your
Yep,
budget, like all
yep.
that stuff. So
So
I think for
here,
me, oh,
no,
go ahead.
go ahead, John. Go.
I think for me, like, given that my first trip ever was a moderate, because like I like looked at the All Stars, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Where's the pool? Like, I mean, the resorts are great, but like moderate pools are moderate pools, value pools are value pools, and if you're taking an off day or taking a midday break, which I'm a huge proponent of,
Yeah.
um, you kind of have to kind of sacrifice a little bit of the value to kind of have a little bit more flexibility. Like, again, Port Orleans French Quarter, our first stay ever. It was great. We walked around. We took the boat to Disney Springs. Yeah, that was my first exposure to Art Smith Homecoming, which was still one of my best meals ever on property. I say that about every meal because, frankly, I've had one or two lackluster experiences. But
Food is
again,
better at
like,
Disney.
oh yeah, way better. Like, way better, so much
So,
better.
so here's one for you.
Go
Here's
ahead,
one
Jeff.
for you.
Yep.
So one of the things that I like to do, and it's kind of a double whammy. I get a couple satisfactions out of this. When I'm riding solo on a trip, I love to really utilize the Disney transportation as part of my entertainment for, the parks. Not necessarily the buses, but I love to
Mm-hmm.
jump on the boats. I love to jump on the Skyliner and just basically take those leisure trips that people don't really recognize as part of the vacation kingdom that Disney World is. That's part of the magic, is taking those modes of transportation. So I love to do that and resort hop.
Mm-hmm.
I would jump on the monorail and I'll spend a couple 3 hours at the Polynesian, the Grand Floridian, the Contemporary, really exploring every nook and cranny because I want to know as much as I can about Disney World to be a better travel agent. But the best part about it is you get to really enjoy some of the restaurants, some of the entertainment venues that these resorts have, while utilizing the Disney, Walt Disney World transportation system. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that is a very unsung hero when it comes to what people do on vacations, whether you're solo or whether you're with your family. And obviously, it lends itself better to when you're solo because most families want to be in the parks all the time or the water parks.
Yeah.
When you're solo, John, you know, you could spend a whole day just moving around property, enjoying the
Mm-hmm.
different resorts, seeing the different things at Disney World, because there are more than just 4 parks and 2 water parks. There's so much more to
Mm-hmm.
do. So
Yeah.
that's what I love to do a lot of times when I go solo, is just jump on the Skyliner and take the whole thing all the way around and get off and jump on again. It's a
Mm-hmm.
blast.
mhm.
One of the best experiences I had today was just like, again, going back to, we're at the Festival of the Arts, and I saw, I'll grab it in a second. I saw a painting that just screams my niece Hannah. Like it's basically this woman in the forest with like dogs surrounded all about her and all around her. And if you like know my niece Hannah, that's her in a nutshell. And like it was one of the greatest, the coolest things was actually talking to the artist, finding out inspiration. Where like if I had my wife with me, I'd see that and she'd talk me out of it. And so like part of my big expense in like treating myself has been picking out things for, the ones I love. And like the first thing I saw at the World of Disney on Sunday was this Carl and Ellie like heart like thing that had the plushies in it. And it said Carl and Ellie with like a grape soda logo from the movie Up, and that's like my wife and I's favorite movie. And so it was like those little things, like you really get to kind of just slow down and like,
Yep.
my kind of like treating myself is just always who I am, and that's acts of service.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm at Disney World by myself, but I'm always thinking about other people. So, in fact, let me go get.
Yeah, you get to treat yourself. I mean, over my shoulder, my finger's going up, and I'm pointing at the Mandalorian helmet right there. That was one of my solo trip purchases because I didn't have to worry about somebody else. So I walked around the park as Mando. So
Yeah.
I can visualize that in my head right now.
Oh man, I got some fun pictures of me speaking with Chewie over by the Millennium Falcon with my Mando helmet.
That's actually something I'm gonna. Sorry, I'm not on camera yet. That's actually something that I'm gonna do. I'm really looking forward to like doing this. But this is the painting right here. Oh,
that is so cool.
But I mean, come on,
Cool.
that was like one of the best things ever. And of course, the first thing I see when I stroll up into World of Disney is this.
Oh,
And
that's
like,
great.
it was just like, it's just like you see things. It's like my wife would totally tell me not to get it, but I'm buying it. So it's
She's not there to tell you no.
No, and like, I mean, like normally she'll judge me. Like one of my favorite things to do, and I haven't done it yet this trip, is by Toy Story Land. They have the Nom Nom cookie. It's like one of my favorite. Like, it's my kryptonite when I'm here because then it gets me fixated on chocolate chip cookies. And if you know anything about Disney World, their cookies are really good. So, it's kind of like, I might just sit down and enjoy a Nom Nom cookie before I hit Toy Story Midway Mania, which will make my score so much better because I'll be all sugared up. So that's my pro tip. Eat a lot of sugar before you go on Toy Story Midway Mania. You'll get a better score, trust me.
And I've got one more pro tip before we wind the call down. This is my last contribution to doing Disney solo, and it's one of my all-time favorite things to do when I'm solo, and that's hit all 4 parks in one day. That is the holy grail for me, and I've done it 4 or 5 times, probably in the last handful of solo trips. Yeah, I always start my day at Animal Kingdom, and I generally move to Hollywood Studios. I'll move to Magic Kingdom midday, and I always end my evening at Epcot. So that is something that's easier to do when there's not all the kids in tow and all your family in tow, and you have nobody pointing toward any decision making at all. It's just you. It's something I challenge one of my single persons to do is hit all 4 parks in one day if you got a park hopper.
It makes it really, really hard though when they like make the park hop at 2:00.
Agreed.
It makes it so much harder. So Disney, if you're listening, I doubt you are, bring back make it 11. Because today at Animal Kingdom, granted, I didn't get there until noon with everything that went on today. But make it so that we can park hop at 11. Problem is you go to a place like Animal Kingdom, and again, this is just how I approach things when I go to the parks. Don't devote a single day to Animal Kingdom. Park hop to it because it'll be so much hotter in the morning. Once it heats up with all that vegetation, you'll be dying. And I can speak from experience. It's not a very fun park in the summer.
See, my history would be hit up Animal Kingdom first, do Avatar, the safari, then leave and go to the next park, which, like you said, back before park hopping was 2:00, that was an easy thing to do. So, I agree with you. I just want them to get rid of park hopping restrictions altogether. better, but I'll
I
take
have
a
I
lunch.
have a feeling they will. I have a feeling they will. I mean, they're already going to be relaxing it a little bit for the annual pass holders, I think, here soon.
Yeah, maybe
So,
that's
but
to see how it goes.
but that's one of my
Mhm.
favorite things to do solo is to hit multiple parks, if not all four of them, in one trip, one day as a solo.
Mhm.
So awesome, John.
Yep.
Well, sounds like you're having
So
a great trip, so I'm glad we could
it,
catch
it's it's honestly great, and like I'm gonna put, just I put the last scene in the intro, and I showed it to you guys, prior to my dinner at the Otsman, and it capped off like the perfect, like I had so much fun just filming the last 2 days, just all over Disney World, thinking of fun things to do, and it was really fun.
Yeah.
So like, to be honest with you, like that's kind of what I think, doing things solo, especially when you're such a Disney fan. And we'll kind of leave it at this, like doing things solo when you're a Disney fan and you want others to experience the joy. Don't be afraid to do it by yourself and then try to project it rather than force feeding. You're gonna have fun, because that's honestly the last two trips I've taken with my family. From my brother who's older than me to, my niece and nephew on my wife's side, just like kind of like force feeding the magic, just let it happen.
Yeah.
And I think if anything, that's something that Disney can improve on with all the force fed like stuff with technology and Genie Plus, and bring back, if you're gonna do something like that, bring back the kiosks where you can like scan your magic band
Mm.
and then make your selections. It would just make it so much simpler because I'm always looking at the clock, seeing what my next thing is. When I could just like stroll around. I think tomorrow I'm gonna be really intentional about just strolling around Magic Kingdom and just, doing things that are fun. Like I actually, yesterday on Monday, I actually did something I never do because I look at the line at Rope Drop for Mine Train. I'm just like, these people are insane. And I actually waited about an hour to ride Mine Train at Rope Drop. And it's just like, it's just the little things that you recognize when you're here by yourself. That's like, I don't want to make them sit in line. Oh, I got nothing else better to do. I'll sit in line and watch Last of Us. It was
There you go.
it was magical. So anyway, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thanks again for tuning in. Um, Again, we'll see if we get this right. For Alyssa and Jeff, I'm John. We'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.
You
Have a great
guys take
week.
care.
I can see eruption from my